Siomra beag.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Sure Look, Sure Listen, the podcast taking a pop at culture.
Sure look, sure listen. Sure look, sure listen.
Sure look, sure listen.
Sure look, sure listen.
Sure look, sure listen.
Sure look, sure listen.
Sure look, sure listen. Very good and very exciting, Benjamin, although I am disappointed by the lack of transparency of your white t-shirt. There's no time to complain about that, because stop gyrating, Benjamin. It's too erotic for July. Because we've got loads of stuff to look at, including, by gosh and by golly, there's a new Superman. Also, Barbie and Oppenheimer have teamed up, creating the terrifying fusion known as Barbenheimer. We also have a new trailer for Dune 2, which I don't remember watching. And you've seen Nivnock, the movie and the comic. And I've seen, Benjamin, Joan is Awful, which is the best thing that's been on television in years. And Secret Invasion, which ironically isn't.
Sure, listen, Michael, if that wasn't enough, and it's really not, my top news for this week is that I am being silenced for my gyration, Michael. I am attempting to bring a little bit of levity and eroticism to the everyday world with a casual bit of podcast gyrating, and I've been told by my co-host it's no good. So I've had to stop. But in more important news, Michael, we're also going to be taking a look at the horrible phenomenon of humans are being replaced. But this time, not really by AI, Michael. Not really by AI, but by aliens and other things.
Sometimes by AI, though.
Sometimes by AI, though. Sometimes. But you see, that's exactly what a co-host who was replaced by AI would say. Because we wouldn't want to draw attention to the fact that, you know, say Ben, the co-host of the podcast Sure Look, Sure Listen, had been replaced by a rather advanced AI.
Yeah, not that advanced. Ben, or sorry, the AI that I've replaced Ben with. Shut up for a second, because speaking of replacing people with cheaper counterparts, they've replaced Superman. Henry Cavill's not Superman anymore. Now there's a younger, cheaper, identical Superman.
Michael, so there's been a bit of debate here on who they were going to replace Henry Cavill with. We've known for a while that Henry Cavill isn't making his big return to the DCU. And I gotta say, Michael, with the announcement of this cast, I'm kind of sad to see him go. Kind of a little bit.
No.
Sad to see him go, Michael.
It's the same.
It's the same. He's basically the same.
They've cast the same man.
They've cast a slimmer, smaller man in the place of the Man of Steel. A man of aluminium, so to speak. Michael.
Very good. Now, Benjamin, that will be a common complaint about this. But have you seen pictures of Henry Cavill when he was cast as Superman, pre-steroids?
He's only a little baby.
He's only a little slip of a fella. This fella's probably bigger than Henry Cavill was when he was cast.
Yeah, that's absolutely 100% true, Michael. So we got Michael Cornsweet, which is hard to say. No, Cornsweet. It looks to be Cornsweet, but I couldn't say.
Cornsweet, as the Americans call it, cornstarch.
And one of the more important things there, Michael, is that we got Rachel Brosnahan off the Mrs. Maisel.
Oh yeah, any relation to Pierce Brosnan?
No relation to Pierce Brosnan as far as we can find. But one day, Michael, we'll get an Irishman to Superman.
The first ever Irish Superman. A big head in him and a Mayo jersey. And people are saying, is it a bird? Is it a plane? And then he lands and he says, Mayo for Sam.
Oh, that'd be class. I'd watch the fuck out of that. And Lex Luthor is a Dubs fan.
Yeah. It's not truth, justice, and the American way. It's all right, horse, Mayo for Sam.
Here, Lex, will you cut that out? Will you just stop? Just give it over.
Knock that off, you fucking you fucking Amadon, you.
You Amadon.
You fucking gombeen.
You're some gommel. Get out. Go on. Get. What have I told you?
Yeah, Michael, that's what will happen, Ben, if we get a Mayo Superman.
Rather interestingly, Michael, we've gotten our double casting, the kind of the Lois Lane and the Superman tour, I think, but we've got nothing else yet, Michael, and it has people rabid for a second guess. People aren't very happy though with this casting, as we've just pointed out, for the reasons that we humorously did in a bit. Sincerely, Michael. Yes. Oh yeah,
well, you know what people are like, Ben. Some of them are the worst.
Some of them are the worst, literally. So we've gotten that casting, and people are a bit eager to see who the Lex Luthor of it all is going to be. Because remember, Michael, this one is an established Superman.
I thought he was a new Superman.
No, well, no, but the story this time, Michael, is an established Superman. We're not going back to the early days of Superman. James Gunn wants to make Superman's been doing this for a while. This is what he's at. Kind of a Superman and Lois vibe.
I thought we were going to get Superman versus the Authority in some sense.
I think we are. See, the interesting thing about this from the point of view of casting, Michael, is this is Lois and Superman in everything that James Gunn is going to helm. So,
do go on.
One of the strange promises that James Gunn has made is that we will see consistency across media. So, for example, Michael Corrin-Sweet will not only play the big blue Boy Scout in live action, he'll also play him in animated features that are brought out under the new GCEU. Yeah, so this is a strange thing that James Gunn has decided to do, which has led to a little bit of debate from fans going, well, actually, it's kind of nice to get multiple versions of your favourite character and find a good voice actor that does good work. But apparently James Gunn's vision is absolute consistency across the board.
Except Batman.
Except Batman, because that made a lot of money and we can't touch that
and
one.
Joker.
And Joker. Well, can't touch that one either. That's no good.
Yeah, it's complete bullshit. Look, you can't sweep the slate clean, but then not.
Yeah, that's not how it works.
That's not how it works. We're going to sweep the slate clean, except Batman and Joker. They're going to stay. And Jason Momoa's staying, but Henry Cavill isn't. And Gal Gadot is going to film a cameo about once a year. We're going to get her in and put her on a green screen.
Yeah, we love that.
She's going to go, hi, I'm Gal Gadot.
I mean, that'll be what we do. Yeah, that's it. That's all we're going to do.
Absolute horse crap, Ben. That is not how you sweep a slate clean.
It isn't,
That's how you make things even more confusing.
I tell you how the US wiped the slate clean back in 1945, Michael.
Oh, holy God. What a segue. What a segue, Benjamin. One of the biggest atrocities in human history. Just lash it in there for a little segue.
They dropped a bomb, Michael, on Japan, two in fact, and it was all made possible by one man, a man called Robert Oppenheimer, Michael.
Well, that's a very great man prescriptive attitude or understanding of history, Ben. I don't think it was all made possible by one man.
Well, that's all America understands how to make movies about, Michael. The great man theory has supplied Hollywood box office gold since God knows when.
Yeah. Alexander,
famously incredibly popular.
Fabulous film. Colin Farrell in it.
Yeah, Colin Farrell was in it. Great. Alexander was a fantastic film. Really good.
It was awful.
It was terrible. Yeah, the highlights were only in his hair, as the fellow would say, Michael. No, Michael, what I bring to you this week is the bizarre phenomenon of Barbenheimer. So,
what is Barbenheimer?
So there's a little example of it there on your screen, Michael, and it's quite unusual. But what's happened is July 21st is a weekend where both Greta Gerwig's Barbie and Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer are releasing at the same time. And this is kind of interesting for a few different reasons, because number one, the army of film bros that back Christopher Nolan to the hilt, Michael, is dedicating itself to the Oppenheimer release naturally.
What's a film bro? Are we film bros?
We're kind of film bros depending on how many clicks we want to get on a TikTok or a reel or something like that. Film bros are the kind of people that believe that The Dark Knight Returns is the pinnacle of cinema, Michael.
It is the pinnacle of cinema.
It's I suppose in a modern media landscape, Michael, it's white guy movie fan syndrome, where it's like Quentin Tarantino is my favorite director, to which people might say, have you not watched anything else since the 90s? Have you not watched, Reservoir Dogs is the best film ever made.
All right.
Like, is it?
All right, Ben. All right, Ben. All right, hold on a second. You tell me one film made since the 90s that's better than Reservoir Dogs. One. You've got 3 seconds. Three.
Alexander with Colin Farrell.
The film Alexander. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Alexander with Colin Farrell.
That was made by noted person of colour Oliver Stone.
Yes, noted person of colour Oliver Stone. If you hadn't accepted that answer, Michael, I probably would have said The Dark Knight Returns by Christopher Nolan.
Very good, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but we've also got the film girlies on the other side, Michael, and those are your Greta Gerwig fans.
Are they film girlies or film girlos? I'm a little bit out of touch with women language, Ben.
Personally, I think film girlos has more of a ring to it. It's more of a Dublin ring to it. The El Girlos off to the cinema. But in either case, Michael, both of them have converged, Michael. And there's a bit of debate on which one you're going to see on July 21st. Because most people are being urged by a very unusual figure to see both in the same weekend.
Who is that figure, Benjamin? Is it Satan?
No, well, close. Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise has been enlisted into the marketing campaign for both films. He did a little mini press tour last weekend where he got advanced screenings of both films on the same day, and he is now urging many, many people to do the same thing.
Didn't Tom Cruise also promote The Flash? Is Tom Cruise trying to single-handedly save cinema?
Yes, that is actually as accurate a statement as you could possibly have made. Yes.
Because it's been a year of flops. So, I mean, releasing Barbie and Oppenheimer on the same day seems to be the most exciting thing that's happening in cinema this year, bereft as we are of an Avengers or I guess an Avengers.
Yeah, or maybe an Avengers. We don't have a lot to look forward to, Michael, and maybe that's why we're getting such a bizarre juxtaposition in Barbie and Oppenheimer. But what the internet has done, because what it does is great, Michael, is it's come together and it started making fan marketing material for Barbie. So we're getting bizarre posters, Michael, like Oppenheimer with a big Barbie glitter mushroom cloud in the background.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Very disrespectful of all those people who died.
And we're getting posters of exactly like the Oppenheimer marketing, but in purple and pinks with a cowboy Barbie striding out of the aftermath of a nuclear
Wonderful.
explosion.
Like Dr. Strangelove. Lovely stuff.
Exactly. Michael, there was a big marketing stunt pulled for this. There was the Barbie house created in Malibu. An Architectural Digest did a tour of it with Margot Robbie, and it exists. It's a big pink house that's been kitted out to promote the movie as the Barbie Malibu dream house, and naturally they're doing Oppenheimer posters with a CG explosion mushroom cloud put in the middle of the
Very
house.
good, Benjamin. Did Architectural Digest put a lot of limes in the house?
I would imagine so, yeah. I would imagine
They
so.
always do. Ben,
Yeah,
I'll tell you which one we're going to see.
go on.
Whichever one the studios send us free passes to.
Yeah, lads, we've been trying for a while here. We're banging off some emails to get some preview screenings. It's not going very well for us. So we tell you what, we will give a rave review. Tom Cruise, listen to us. Listen to us. We're
even if
all
it's shite.
for. We're going to save cinema with you, Tom. Just get us into preview screenings, please.
Yeah.
Please. We
Tom.
don't have the budget for all these films.
Disney's the only one who care about us, Ben. Warner Brothers couldn't give a flying shite.
They could not.
Now, what's their beef? What is the beef between Sure Look, Sure Listen and Warner Brothers?
I don't know. I wish someone had told us, though. It'd be easier to get on with things if they told us, but they haven't told us.
It's
Michael.
weird.
It's weird.
What's next, Ben? What's next on the list there? I've forgotten.
You've just blocked it out of your mind,
I've
Michael.
blocked it out of my mind, such as my rage at it. Just like the trailer for Dune 2. Benjamin, I believe I sent you this trailer and said, Ben, we better watch the trailer for Dune 2. I can't remember anything that happened in it.
I remember watching it on the day, Michael, and I could not for the life of you tell me what I did.
Yeah. No, yeah. I guess there's going to be deserts, and there's going to be Fremen, and there's going to be Shai Hulud.
They're going to be there. The lads are going to be... It looks like a perfume ad again.
Yeah, there's going to be Zendaya's going to be in it.
Yeah, she's going to be knocking about the place doing Zendaya things. Look, Michael, the first film was good. It's a classic Denis Villeneuve. It's what you get him for. It's a big space opera with big gigantic set pieces, monumental scales, very serious depictions of the characters that we've all come to understand. But then again, Frank Herbert's Dune is very serious, so
it's a very serious
sense.
book, Benjamin. In retrospect, my favourite thing about the first one is that terrible prison planet where the Sardaukar are undergoing their indoctrination into the whatever it is, the cult or the army. Do you remember that with the throat singing and everybody going...
That'll have been very pleasant for the listeners, Michael.
Will I do it again? Will I do it again for the listeners?
Yeah, go on. Now, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who don't believe Michael is doing a very good impression of that scene, he actually is. That's fucking good. Nailing it. That's very on the money.
Yeah.
Very on the money.
I'm really looking forward to this. What I think is weird about this, despite the fact that I've seen the trailer and I remember literally nothing that happens in it, I'm really excited for this to be complete.
For it to be done.
Because in this day and age, it's so weird for them to take a book split it into two, and not film it at the same time.
Yeah.
That seems
absolutely.
almost ever since Lord of the Rings, that seems like a mad thing to do. So
heretical.
Yeah, exactly, Benjamin, as they would say in the Dune universe. Was there ever a risk of this not coming out?
There must have been. There must. I mean, I would say he dodged the bullet of the writer's strike just in time.
But this has been in the can a little while.
Yeah, but I mean, Warner Brothers must be banking heavily on this now with the writer's strike, really starting to seize production in terms of new content and summer content and stuff like that. Like, a lot of movie studios must be depending on their Oppenheimers, their Barbies, their Dunes, because they're not going to make more. There's nothing else coming out.
Benjamin, have you heard the latest gossip from behind the scenes from our man on the inside regarding
go on.
the MCU TV shows?
Go on, tell me more.
Apparently Marvel were so underwhelmed with the Echo series. It was essentially going to get Batgirled.
Oh.
But now that they're not allowed to make anything else, it might get un-Batgirled.
Oh, good for them. I wonder will they brush off Batgirl? I wonder will that just get released?
You never know. They might do, you know. Actually, that's not a bad shout. Maybe Warner Brothers will just go, I'll tell you what, we're saving a little bit of money by not inviting the lads from Sure Look, Sure Listen to any premieres. So we'll use that money and we'll bang Batgirl out onto streaming while we can't do any new stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they'll probably do it with that awful Flash movie that they canned and put on the shelf, Michael, that we never got to see, starring Ezra Miller. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it's such a shame we never got to see that. Such a shame.
Such a shame we never got to see that and didn't block it out of our minds.
Ben,
not unlike the trailer for Dune 2. Yes.
Exactly. Ben, I was talking to my friend Andrew Shane the other day. Do you remember him?
Oh, we're good pals. Yeah. Hi, Shane.
Yeah. And he's very annoyed at us because we all enjoyed Flash.
Oh.
Remember we all enjoyed Flash? We came out of the cinema and went, that was kind of okay, wasn't it? And
yeah, we did.
You and I went on a journey and a week later went, I hated that. But he wasn't on that journey with us.
Well, we probably should have included it, Michael, but what we did was we applied critical thinking to the experience that we had. And then we're left with only one conclusion, which was, that was actually a bit shit.
A bit shit. Unlike Dune 2, because, I mean, if there's one thing we can be certain of, Dune 2 is going to be quite good.
And that our minds will probably wipe, and we won't be able to apply critical theory to it, because that seems to be how Dune 2 works.
That's how it works. Just like Shai Hulud. Benjamin.
Yeah.
What the hell is this Nimona that you've put on there? You know I can't. You know I can't read Irish, Ben.
Come here to me, Michael. It's not Nimona.
Go on.
Na. Never, baby, never.
Very good.
It's Nimona, Michael. We got a brand new movie out on Netflix this week called Nimona, and it's doing gangbusters, Michael, with the critical reviews. People like it.
Do the critics like it? Na. Yeah. My Nimona.
So what I did ahead of this, Michael, was I grabbed the L comic it's based on by N.D. Stevenson.
It's a comic, is it?
It's a comic originally, Michael. A comic written for teenagers.
I've never heard of N.D. Stevenson. That sounds like a nom de plume.
N.D. Stevenson, Michael, is the writer responsible for Lumberjanes, which was another popular comic book that came out a few years ago, and also wrote She-Ra on Netflix.
Oh, that was quite good. Benjamin, are you you just mispronouncing Andy?
No, N.D.
Are you saying that like a Canadian or a South African?
There's a very important reason for this, Michael. I have to be very careful. N.D. Stevenson is the chosen writer name of an individual who has transitioned.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So, there's a few things going on in this movie, and there's a few things going on in this comic. Let's start with the comic, because that's the thing that I read first, ahead of the thing. What a great, bloody comic.
Is it very bloody?
So, Michael, this is the interesting thing. Yes.
Oh.
Yes,
You've undercut my sarcasm there.
Yes, you see, I undercut my own sarcasm, Michael, because I picked this up, and I had heard a few things about this over the years, and I always wanted to pick it up and give it a read, because it's a bit of a saga, Michael. It's a hefter of a book. And it started as a web comic, and then it was published as a volume in 2015.
That's ages ago.
That's ages ago, Michael. Ages ago.
8 years.
8 whole damn years. God
4 if you
damn
don't count COVID.
COVID doesn't count, Michael. We've all blocked it out, not unlike the trailer for Dune 2. So
When's that coming out?
Sometime before the writer's strike to make some kind of money. God, it sure would be helpful if, I don't know, Warner Brothers sent us some tickets with the dates printed on them, so we didn't
Warner
forget.
Brothers. God's sake.
But
sorry, go on.
Nimona, Michael. Nimona is fantastic. Nimona is about Ballister Blackheart, who is a supervillain in a kind of medieval futuristic society.
Oh, they're contradictory, those two words.
They are. They don't go together at all, but it's still quite good. And then what happens is one day, Nimona appears, Michael, and she says that she is going to be his new sidekick.
Oh, a classic forced sidekick plot.
Yeah, so he has no choice but to take this. Now, the tone of this comic is phenomenal, Michael. It's very whimsical, it's very silly, but it has razor-sharp plot points and scenes and emotions. It's very, very good. So, it turns out that Ballister Blackheart was once upon a time going to be a knight, Michael. Of this realm, a protector of this realm, and he lost in he won a jousting competition. He was the best damn knight in town, Michael.
A jousting competition is called a joust.
Yes, he lost in a jousting competition, Michael. He won it, and then it turns out that the secret crush and love of his life, Goldenloin, his rival in the Knights, blew his arm off with a future techno lance. And so Ballister Blackheart is banished from the Knights Order because you must be whole and complete to be part of the Knights Order, which is very interesting in itself, Michael.
Very ableist.
Very ableist, Michael. Good man. Good man. Now, so the way this is set up is Ballister Blackheart is kind of in a classic dance, Michael. Not unlike in the Venture Brothers, the way you have the Guild of Calamitous Intent and the Heroes League, and they kind of agree when they're going to have their fights and stuff like that. So Ballister Blackheart is viewed as a kind of an essential threat to unify the city against by the Institution. The Institution is the name of the governing body of this society. And Nimona comes along and she's like, "No, you should be a proper supervillain and just fuck shit up."
Yeah, let's go ruin stuff.
And it turns out that Nimona is a shapeshifter of phenomenal power, Michael. She can shapeshift into just about anything you can set your mind to.
I saw the trailer, Ben. She's flipping
amazing.
into everything you can imagine.
Flipping into everything you can imagine. So the comic is amazing, Michael. It builds on some really nice themes. It's great characterization. It's a really fun read. The character designs themselves are very set. It's a very stylistic approach, but someone who is very, very skilled at comic book storytelling has done them because the storytelling visually is phenomenal. And Michael, it hints at a few different things. There are a few key differences. It hints at a relationship between Goldenloin and Blackheart. It doesn't directly state that they are in a romantic relationship. And number two, incredibly gory. Nimona has no issue, Michael, with murdering henchmen for the Institution. She has no bother doing that. And Ballister Blackheart is constantly like, no, don't kill anybody, don't do it, we don't have to do that. And Nimona is like, but it's fun. So it subverts that expectation, because when I first started to read it, Michael, I assumed, rather naively, that the lesson would be...
She would have the heart of gold.
Yeah, or that she wanted to be a big badass, but could never pull the trigger. And that is swiftly, Michael, taken away from you.
Yeah, like Taylor Swift's concert tickets.
Yeah, so this, I would strongly urge anybody who likes a good independent comic book, a whimsical comic book, go out and get Nimona. It's great. It's a great read. If you have teenagers or anything like that, give it to them. It's a good read. Great time. Some really nice themes, some very important themes on ableism, some very important themes on being trans, some very important themes on homosexuality, LGBTQ+, LGBTQIA+.
Yeah, you got it right.
Plus. Yeah.
Oh, there's more.
We'll get to that another time, Michael, not on this podcast. But then, Michael, I went and I watched bloody Nimona on Netflix as a result of that. And I have to say, Michael, this is a perfect example of what happens when you let a writer get a chance at telling their story again and seeing what they change. Because Nimona on Netflix is just as good as the comics.
And written by the same person.
Yeah, so N.D. Stevenson wrote this as well.
Very good. I think that's probably a good idea most of the time. Not all of the time.
Not all of the time.
Most of the time.
but most
Sometimes
of the time,
comic book writers are rubbish at writing TVs and movies.
not in this case, Michael. This is very enjoyable. So this has a star-studded cast, Michael.
Tell me one person who's in it.
Bloody Chloe Moretz. What's her name? Oh no, I've forgotten.
Yeah, she was out
Chloe
of Hit
Moretz
Girl.
Grace. Yeah, Chloe Moretz Grace is Nimona. She's the voice of Nimona. Riz Ahmed plays Ballister Blackheart.
One of your favourites, Ben, from Rogue Squadron.
I love
Rogue
Riz
One.
Ahmed. He's absolutely fantastic. Riz Ahmed is amazing. He's great. We have Eugene Lee Lang from the Try Guys.
Hugh
Michael.
Jackman, are you saying?
No, Eugene. Eugene. I can't say the name Eugene, which is news to me. Eugene.
Ben, the guy who used to go and have a $5 chicken, a $15 chicken, and a $60 chicken. That guy.
That's not him. That's Rich something. I can't remember. But this is Eugene Lang from the Try Guys, Michael. Not the one who was cancelled. He's the Asian gentleman in the Try Guys. So he voices Golden Loin. And
okay. Now you're saying loin.
Yes.
Do you mean loin as in crotch?
I don't know if they mean loin as in crotch, but that's his name. That's his name.
Okay,
I'm not wrong.
No, I'm not saying you're wrong, but my question is here, are you saying lion, like the animal, or loin, like the...
No, loin as in loincloth.
Feature.
The anatomical feature.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, all right, okay.
Yeah, it's spelt that way in the comic book, and it's said that way in the movie. It's golden loin. To which,
okay, yeah, very good. Yeah, I just thought you'd forgotten how to pronounce it. That's fine. That's great.
No, to which the exact same reaction happened to me, where I was like, "Oh, cheeky."
Cheeky. Did David Williams come around your house?
Yeah. So there's a lot going on in this, Michael, but some of the key differences from the movie is they've toned it down a little bit. So it's not as bloody in this. Yeah. Not as bloody. However, what they have done, Michael, is made the romantic relationship between Ballister Blackheart and Golden Loin explicit. It's clear. They are romantically in love with each other. And that is the main pain for Ballister Blackheart. He is shunned by the man he loves. And it's very interesting.
You mean explicit as in not secret, rather than explicit as we get to see them balls deep fucking?
Oh no, sorry. There's no balls deep fucking in this. No, sorry.
Okay. All right.
It's clear. There's no subtlety.
Subtext.
There's no subtext. There's no hidden meaning. They are romantically in love with each other, and it's very nice to see those themes of trans visibility and trans acceptance are very, 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 very clarified in this.
In what way is one of the characters trans? Is that what you're getting at?
Nimona as a shapeshifter. No, Nimona as a shapeshifter identifies very much as neither gender. So there's a lot of that going on, and it's very interesting, Michael. A really, really, truly enjoyable film. It has that very clean French animation style, and it's just a really fun watch. It looks a little bit cheap from the trailer, and this kind of surprised me. It's phenomenally high quality. But for some reason, the way they've cut the trailer makes it look very simplistic or something. I don't know how that works, but it's a beautiful film. Check it out.
Very good.
I cannot recommend it enough.
I might do, Ben. You said neither gender there as though there are only two. But look, we won't talk about that now. We'll come back to that at some stage in the future.
Apologies.
While you've been watching Nimona, Ben, the movie Nimona, on Netflix, is that where it is?
Yes, it's on Netflix.
I watched my favourite thing that I've seen on television in flippin' ages.
Yeah.
And that is, Benjamin, the new season of Black Mirror.
Oh, get out of town at Charlie Brooker.
A good old Charlie Brooker, Benjamin. And in particular, the standout is one of the best things that I've seen on television in years. Joan is Awful is fantastic. Now, I've been avoiding reviews so as not to be parroting other people's opinions. And I could be completely wrong and the internet might hate this, but I thought it was one of the cleverest, funniest, most thought-provoking female-led comedies with a dark social horror twist that I've ever seen in my life. Now, I realise that's a narrow field, Ben.
It is.
And probably the second best one is that one with Bryce Dallas Howard, which is also Black Mirror.
Yes.
But this is, from start to finish, other than a slightly slow first 3 minutes, it is great.
Oh, well, that's good, isn't it?
Now, the sad thing about it is we can't really talk about it without getting into big-time spoilers.
Gosh darn it.
So we're going to have to get into big-time spoilers, Ben. So we'll give a spoiler warning.
Yeah.
But we'll say, first of all, that if you have any interest, even if you're not a horror fan, because this is barely a horror, it's not a horror. It's a social commentary with a sci-fi twist.
Right.
It is not a horror. It's no more a horror than the one with Bryce Dallas Howard.
Okay.
So, if your beef with Black Mirror is that you don't like horror, this is not a horror.
Okay, well, that's good.
It's a social commentary. It's a comedy. It's a female-led double-header comedy. So if you liked The Heat... Oh, no, that was Jason Statham, wasn't it? If you liked... What was the one with Melissa McCarthy and... Oh, that was The Heat.
No, that was The Heat.
Yeah, if you liked The Heat because you love female-led double-header comedies, but you want one that's not fucking shite, you could watch this.
Oh, that's good, isn't it? It's nice to have options.
Yeah, because it's fabulous. So, Ben, in it, Annie Murphy plays Joan. And Joan's a normal workaday woman who has her trials and her tribulations.
Annie Murphy off Schitt's Creek?
Off Schitt's Creek. Her off Schitt's Creek.
Fucking great. Another great show. Go watch that too.
Great show. Yeah, great show. Great actress. But she's living her life, Ben. And, you know, there's ups and downs in her life. And she's not super happy in her relationship or her job or whatever. Until one night she sits down in front of a Netflix to watch a Netflix. And what's on Netflix? What's on Netflix, Ben? Only a dramatic retelling of the very day she has just had, starring Salma Hayek.
Oh.
And there's that particular scene where she sits down watching it and the gradual realization that for some reason this show knows everything about her life and is exaggerating it slightly is one of the most fabulous moments of television I've seen in a long time.
Oh,
just
good.
The sheer horror of, oh no, you forgot that thing you did that you're not going to want your boyfriend who's watching this with you to find out. And as she tries to convince him that they don't need to watch it anymore, and it gradually approaches the moment where she's going to get in trouble.
Oh,
Feckin'
no.
Great, Ben. But the reason that it's not just isn't that mad is that it turns out, Ben, that when we're signing away our rights, when we sign all those terms and conditions, one of the rights you gave away is the right for the streaming service to listen on your phone and listen on everyone else's phone and use your day and AI generate a show almost immediately as your day is happening.
Get out of town.
So the actress Salma Hayek, Ben, doesn't actually appear in it because it's the entire show is generated by deepfake.
Get out of town.
So the actress Salma Hayek has only signed away her license rights, and she actually has nothing to do with the production of the show.
Ah.
Exactly, Ben. So the hero, or the main character, Joan, realizes that if she does something truly appalling, then the actress Salma Hayek will appear to do something truly appalling. And that would probably upset Salma Hayek enough to pull the plug on the show.
Good.
But it turns out, of course, Ben, that Salma Hayek has no more power to stop it than Joan does.
Of course, she signed away her rights, Michael.
She signed away her rights, Ben, and AI is just stealing her likeness and her voice and her face and making her do horrible things.
Yeah. As AI probably will one day.
Exactly, Ben. So, of course, Joan and Salma then have to team up in a kind of buddy cop sort of way and try and bring down the evil organisation that's causing it.
Michael, this sounds fucking great.
It's fucking great, Ben. And you know what's the greatest thing about it? I haven't even told you the best twist. And the best twist is a fabulous sci-fi twist.
Okay,
that
mega
really
spoilers.
Push this.
Mega spoilers.
Mega spoilers. So I've spoiled enough so far that you can still go and enjoy this. And the mega twist, Ben, is probably where it might lose some people, but it's where it really made me think this is fucking great. So do you want the mega spoilers, Ben?
I do.
The mega spoiler is that the what we've been watching, where Joan is experiencing this, is actually the second level up. So this Joan isn't the real Joan. This Joan is a digital likeness of the actress Annie Murphy being used to create an AI show of the real Joan, who is one level beneath this. And there's one level above this where Salma Hayek's character thinks she's the real Joan, and her life is being repeated by the actress Cate Blanchett.
Amazing.
And it is great. It is incredible. The moment where it all kind of clicks together and you realise none of this is real. This is just one step up in the chain of infinite AI repetition is absolutely fantastic.
That sounds amazing.
And the only person who it was better for is the actress Annie Murphy, because she tells a story where Charlie Brooker gave her the script and she read through the whole thing, and then she got to experience that twist while reading the script, because suddenly the script starts talking about the actress Annie Murphy, and
Excellent.
She was just as confused as the characters are in the show.
That's amazing.
Which she's able to really pour into the performance. So it's an incredible... Not like the acting is great, the comedy is fantastic, the change in tone between what we think is real Joan and the slightly heightened version of Joan that we see played by Salma Hayek, and then the more realistic muted tone of real Joan is just great. The whole, when you see real Joan's life, real Joan looks like... Do you remember with Black Mirror you used to be able to tell instantly this is an English episode or this is an American episode?
Yeah.
So real Joan's... American Joan's life looks like an American episode of Black Mirror.
Go on.
It's pretty slick. But real Joan's life looks like a British episode of Black Mirror.
Oh, very good.
You know, much more natural colour grading, real sets and locations rather than Hollywood homes and stuff like that. It is great. It is fabulous. And like, even ignoring the cool sci-fi twist and even ignoring the like fun of the multiple levels and the fear of AI, there's a great sequence in the middle of it where Joan realises that her life and identity has been stolen out from under her.
Yeah. This sounds amazing.
It's great. It's great. That existential panic is enough to carry it on its own without the couple of other sci-fi twists of it being AI and Salma Hayek also being affected, and then there being multiple levels. Michael Cera's in it. Fabulous stuff.
Michael Cera, you say?
Yeah. It hurt my brain, Ben, thinking about it the next day, going, so wait a minute. In the next universe up, Salma Hayek thinks she's the real Joan, and she hates Cate Blanchett for being in the dramatization of her life. But that must mean there's another universe up past that where Cate Blanchett thinks she's the real Joan, and some other Hollywood A-lister.
So many layers.
Oh, it's great stuff, fabulous stuff. Which is kind of fun, Ben, because it tied into the themes of loss of identity and feeling of hopelessness, and all of those cool themes about like losing your identity and being lost that Marvel's Secret Invasion just can't seem to hit.
Oh, go on.
Because
Michael,
I also watched Marvel.
Hold on,
yes,
hold on.
What?
That was an
What is it?
Oscar-worthy segue. Well done.
I've been planning this all week, Ben.
Yeah, no, it's very good.
Because because Secret Invasion's rubbish.
Is it still rubbish?
Oh, it's so rubbish, Ben. It's
bless.
so boring and toneless and threatless, and I think the worst thing I can say about it, simultaneously the worst and the most damning, is feels like one of the middling episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, that is poor. That is
you know,
a backhand.
Yeah, imagine if for some reason Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. had managed to get Olivia Colman and Emilia Clarke and Samuel L. Jackson for more than a cameo.
Oh, that is damning.
But everything else feels about the same. Like, there's no feeling of threat. There's no feeling of we don't know who's Skrulls and who's not Skrulls.
Oh dear.
And even the people who are Skrulls, does it matter? Does it really matter? There's so many superpowered people, and like a Skrull is a little bit stronger than a normal human.
Oh, is it not a lot stronger? It's not like the comics.
Well, they're a decent bit stronger. They met a guy in the first episode, I think it could have been the second episode, and they kind of hinted a little bit that he might be something other than a Skrull.
Super Skrull?
And well, they're heading towards Super Skrull.
Oh, okay.
But they were hinting that he might be something different, something else that's a little bit stronger than a human and a bit supernatural. And for the briefest of seconds, I thought they were hinting towards vampires. And I was like, if this is going to be a mix-up of Skrulls and vampires working in secret behind the scenes, I'm a little bit intrigued. But then he turned out to be just a Skrull, and I went, he's just a Skrull. And that's the most damning thing you can say about this show. It's that when someone turns out to be a Skrull, it's like, it's just a Skrull.
It's just a Skrull.
It's just a Skrull. Yeah.
So what happens in what happens in these two? What's going on, or have we got more of the plot now?
Yeah, there's more of the plot. So the Skrulls are trying to gather DNA of aliens with superpowers to make some sort of super Skrull. Some sort of
super or superior Skrull, eh?
Yeah. But they don't have the rights for the Fantastic Four, or they didn't want to pre-use the Fantastic Four's powers. So we get a little scene on a computer where we see they've got some of Groot's DNA.
Oh, look at that.
They've got some of the Extremis DNA from the Iron Man 3 baddies.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. That's a weirdly shit callback, but okay.
Yeah. But you know what power Groot gives you? Stretching and growing. You know what power Extremis gives you?
Bit of fire, yeah.
You know what power Cull Obsidian from the Black Order gives you?
Big old strong boy.
Being a big old strong fella. So they're going down the Super Skrull route without referencing the Fantastic Four's powers.
Must be really awkward that they haven't introduced any invisibility adjacent superheroes in the MCU. Yeah. That's awkward.
Yeah, very awkward.
And this is Siobhan Jones from Wales.
Yeah.
We got her DNA. She's a superhero you haven't heard about yet, but she's definitely she can go invisible. So yeah.
Yeah. It's rubbish though. It's just so boring. It's toneless. It's tensionless. There's a scene. I think the actors thought they were in like a Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy sort of thing.
Yeah.
But everything is lit and shot like a Marvel TV show. So
you can't build that tone really, can you?
No, like there's these Skrull kind of refugee camps / terrorist training centers.
Yeah.
And they just look like any kind of huddled mass of rag-wearing extras that you've seen in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or The Inhumans or any of those shows. It's like, okay, so you've got extras in rags in like an abandoned warehouse. I've seen this 100 times before. What about this is tense?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, very upsetting.
That is upsetting. Upsetting.
It is upsetting. It's not making me hope for the future of the MCU, Ben.
Oh, that is very disappointing, Michael.
I think the only explanation for it, Ben, is that the writers, the good writers who used to work for Marvel, have been replaced by some sort of pod people.
Oh, yeah. Do you remember, Michael, when they used to be great, and now they're the same people, definitely, but just not as good and a bit off? Yeah, probably pod people.
Yeah. Very good. Very good segue. Not as good as my one earlier, but pretty good.
Pretty solid. Yours was probably the grade A, Michael, and this one was the body snatched version.
Very good.
Of a segue that you would do. Yeah, Michael. Humans are being replaced, and that's the theme of the week.
Oh, by AI or by pod people?
Well, it doesn't really matter anymore, Michael. All I know is humans are out. Whatever else is going to take over their bodies and pilot them the same way are in.
Go on. That's interesting that you said it that way, Ben. Because I think that's what's interesting about the current AI scare. Like Joan is awful tied into that nicely. Where it seems like in the history of pop culture, humans are always worried about being replaced.
Yes.
But what it is that's going to replace them depends very much on the prevailing winds of society.
Absolutely. The fear of being replaced, for some reason, Michael, has become a massive fear since the Victorian era, and a little bit before that. But the fear of slow replacement is a core one, similar to, I suppose, unexpressed desire being vampires, lascivious, bloody, snaky boys being vampires, these kinds of things. This is one of the core ones that fuels a lot of our horror fiction.
Benjamin.
Yeah.
You know how I know you haven't been replaced by a pod person?
Go on.
Because we're doing a Sherlock deep dive onto a genre, and you've taken it back to the Victorian era.
Yeah, well, that's how you know, Michael. That's how you know. That's our code word, Michael. You know. That's how you know. If I ever take it any further than that, Michael, you won't get a lot about it. You'd just be like, "That's not my Ben. What the fuck?"
Yeah. You know in pop culture, Ben, when someone is replaced and they say, "Tell me something about me that only you would know." I won't do that if I think you've been replaced. I'll just give you a topic and ask you to tie it back to the Victorian era. And if your body snatcher says, "What?" then I'll know he's not real.
That's probably true. But Michael, you can chart that change throughout fiction. We've seen it a few different times. It started with the classic kind of thing of aliens. Aliens are going to replace us. That's where we got things like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, things like that. And that really became a central concern, Michael, when it came to mass immigration in different
it's immigration.
Countries. It's not entirely immigration, but some of the fear stems from the fear that you were going to be replaced not by anything supernatural, not by anything AI advanced, not by robotics, not anything like that, by other people. You were just going to be, your job was going to be taken by someone who'd do it for a different rate, etc. And that was the mass immigration of London in the Victorian era. And we saw a lot of that flow in. But where the body snatching and replacing element really comes into its own, Michael, is the 19th century, when we see things like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the film, and that's Aliens.
Hold on. Are you saying, do you mean the 20th century?
I mean the 20th century because I'm an idiot. I'm in the 20th century because I'm an idiot.
One of my favourite 1856 movies, Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I mean the 20th century because I'm a dumb.
Benjamin,
but Michael,
in 1856 it would call it Invasion of the Bodice Snatchers.
I would read that book, but not for this podcast, Michael.
No, that would be for private reading.
Exactly. That would not be good for any of this. But anyway, Michael, we saw this come to a real fore in the 20th century, specifically, Michael, in the second half of the 20th century, where the notion of being replaced became a really, really big fear because our advancements in computing became massive. So the 1950s led to a fear of being replaced by aliens because aliens were so hot right then.
Yeah, but I tell you what the aliens really were, though.
Go on.
Communism. It was communism.
Yeah, so it was communism were replacing us either way. So I suppose that's a nice segue there, Michael. You could look at that as an example of replacing a system as opposed to a person. And that's quite nice because that grew into then oh, what if it was full-on people? What if it wasn't just the ideals that we've built our society on, but what if it was full-on people? And yeah, so that became something very, very different. And then I remember one of the first ones I saw, Michael, that kind of freaked me out was Blade Runner.
Because they were replaced by robots.
Yeah, they're replaced by robots. Now, in this particular case, Michael, it's not that specific people are being cloned or replaced or changed in any way. It's that people are being replaced by robots that look and act the same as humans. They are replicants. That's what they're called. And
there
so
should
in
be
this
some
particular
sort of easy way to tell them apart, though.
There should, Michael, and there was. There was a beautiful and wonderful system. And that interview system was called the something test. I can't remember what it's called.
Voight-Kampff, was it?
The Voight-Kampff test. Oh, Michael. Mwah, chef's kiss to
Is
you.
that right?
The Voight-Kampff test. Yeah. It's
that
like
might be wrong.
it's like a No, it's the Voight-Kampff test. You're bang on. And Michael, what we saw there was like the Turing test on steroids. So you'd go into a room and the replicant officer, the man in charge of hunting them down, the Blade Runner, Michael, as it were, would give you the interview. And I remember the first, in the original movie, there's about 5 minutes of a scene where a replicant is being interviewed by a Blade Runner. And the culmination of that scene, and spoilers for a movie that came out in the 1980s, they catch the replicant, but the replicant murders the Blade Runner before they can complete the interview. And I remember being freaked the fuck out at this concept that you could be having a chat with a robot, no bother. So I remember, Michael, as I got older, that fear has never left me. And I went and had a look at it, Michael, and saw where it came from. And do you know what it's called, Michael?
Fear of being replaced.
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty good example, but it's called Chronos syndrome.
Oh, because Chronos was replaced by Zeus.
Exactly, Michael. Exactly. Well done. That was nice. That was a nice, smooth segue into that. So, in Greek mythology, the fear of being replaced is a classic trope within Greek mythology. So, Kronos was replaced by Zeus, but Kronos in turn replaced his own father, Uranus, as head of the gods, and that was done through an act of violent consumption, usually, and murder.
They're always eating each other.
Oh, it was terrible, Michael. It was terrible. So they did that, Michael, and now we have something called Chronos syndrome. Now, Chronos syndrome is an official diagnosis, Michael. It's an irrational fear that people can develop, not unlike agoraphobia, arachnophobia, one of the big phobias, but the fear of being replaced is known as Chronos syndrome. And that has fueled, ever since the 1980s, it's been fueled primarily by robotics and technology, because that was kind of then seen as the new way forward. We saw it a little bit in Terminator, Michael. Big evil robots replacing humans in a much bloodier kind of wipe them out kind of way. But now...
But also making robots who look like humans.
Exactly. And making them better. I think the scariest thing quite often, Michael, by the replicants or anything like that is they're better. They're not it's not a straight copy. It's an advanced version of humans. So replicants are better than humans. They don't live as long, and that's the issue. But they're a more advanced species in terms of strength, durability, etc., etc., etc. And then when we saw things like Terminator's unstoppable, Michael. He's the Terminator. He's big, scary man. And all of the things we've come to rely on for stopping power, your rifles, your pistols, your shotguns, no good.
He does get stopped in every film, though.
He does, yeah. Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Eventually.
That's true.
Eventually.
That does somewhat take the wind out of my sails, Michael. Yeah.
That's very interesting, though, Ben, what you've said there, because that seems to be a post-80s thing where... Yeah, we are replaced. Humanity is replaced by our improvements, by our betters.
Yeah.
But in the pre-80s stuff, we were generally replaced by our worsers.
Yeah, it was an insidious evil force that couldn't survive on its own and needed a host or something like that. So we saw that a little bit in Body Snatchers. We saw that a little bit in other things.
Yeah, well, I mean, in Body Snatchers, the kind of the horror of it is that it snatches people up and it dumbs them down and it makes them compliant and suggestible and calm and socialist, basically.
Yeah.
And everyone's getting on with a great big work together, and only the American capitalist heroes are the ones who don't get captured and subsumed into it.
Isn't it kind of fucked up that the way you tell if someone's been body snatched is, Jesus, they're awful likeable.
They're awful likeable and calm.
They're very amicable, aren't they? God, they're really getting on.
Jeff used to be a real fucking dickhead, but now he's sound as a pound, so they must have got him.
And yet, it's funny because if you were to spell that out, it's like, what's the problem? Oh, everyone's getting on. Oh, right. Well, what's wrong with that? Oh, well, it's just nobody's been a prick, you see. And it's like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah. But what's so bad about that? Well, capitalism needs you to be a prick. What was that? Sorry? Yeah. What?
Have you ever heard of rugged individualism?
Yeah, come here to me.
Have you?
We can't be. Yeah. You can't be rugged without being a prick. That's the rule.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of the frontier spirit? Come on, Ben. I've an offer for you.
Go on.
I've an offer for you. Here's an offer for you. Right. Here's the offer. This is an offer I'm going to make to you now. Donald Sutherland. This is the offer. Yeah. Donald Sutherland. What do you think of that?
Yeah.
Jeff
delightful.
Goldblum.
What a bargain. Oh,
yeah. Jeff Goldblum, Donald Sutherland, Jeff Goldblum, Leonard Nimoy, triple header.
Yeah, that's 1978's
invasion of the. Yeah, that's 1978's Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Ben, which is a fucking fabulous film that has held up remarkably well.
Go on, tell me more, Michael. Tell me more about 1978's Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Well, do you remember what I said about Secret Invasion? How it's rubbish because it's completely without tension. Every time someone turns out to be a Skrull, you're like, yeah, whatever. 1978's Invasion of the Body Snatchers, starring Donald Sutherland, Leonard Nimoy, and Jeff Goldblum, but in scenes together. Imagine those three.
Those three.
It's a surprise there's any scenery left, Ben.
Acting up a storm.
Just chewing their way through the scenery. But what's great about this film that is dreadful about Secret Invasion is this is just all atmosphere. It's all tension. Like, these are relatively normal people. It's not like Nick Fury, super agent, and Olivia Colman, head of MI6, who's also in the field doing her own interrogations. And, it's not the fate of the world. It is the fate of the world, but it's the fate of the world on a personal, paranoid, freaked out, scared level.
Yeah, it's an intimate portrayal of what would actually happen if the world went to shit.
Or it got better.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, if you don't subscribe to the tenets of rugged individualism. So, like, this film, and I've had the unfortunate distinction, Ben, of kind of being about and seeing a couple of people have psychotic episodes, sadly. And it's a harrowing thing to see, is a psychotic episode where someone truly believes that the world is turning on them and people are out to get them, and getting paranoid about what's that air hostess, what did she give me that drink for, what she put in it, and the gradual descent into utter paranoia and fear. And this film is, I think, having never experienced it and not being a clinical doctor, Ben, but like, this film is almost like feeling that sensation I felt of
everything turning against you and becoming twisted.
Yes, but at the same time, like, while we're watching these characters and as they're slowly going mad, we know that they're right, but at the same time they're screaming against this person's being too nice, and my husband has stopped beating me, and
what have you done with them, you beast?
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like they're screaming against this system, and the whole system is like, no, calm down. Everyone's kind of trying to help you here. We just want you to get along, and everything's going to be fine. And it's very deeply unsettling. It's got terrifying camera angles. It's got this weird diegetic soundscape, and just watching it in contrast so soon after the completely styleless Secret Invasion.
I'd say that was tough.
It was a real experience. It's a hard film to watch because it's a deeply unpleasant watch. Watching a descent into madness, but it's so what Secret Invasion is missing, a point.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of interesting. So, hearing you speak about 1978's Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Michael, has brought to mind a weird echo from 10 years ago. And that is, did you watch World's End with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost?
Yes. Yeah, the last film of the Cornetto trilogy.
The last film in the Cornetto trilogy. Interestingly, Michael, basically Invasion of the Body Snatchers. In terms of, everybody getting along, hive mind taking over, making everything run smoothly, being given the option for making the planet a better place, and rugged individualism coming to save the day, or, in this case, not saving the day.
Yeah, make it all worse.
Yeah, make it all worse. So it's very, very interesting. When we watch Invasion of the Body Snatchers, that is the theme. And when we watch World's End, because I think World's End is probably the weakest of the three that we got in the Cornetto trilogy.
I don't know if it is. I think it's actually a fabulous film, but it was, I think, a little bit too out there for the audience that Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz had built.
Yeah, I suppose it's a bit left field. It's really is kind of speculative sci-fi, or hard speculative sci-fi at a certain degree, but it's an updated version of the Body Snatchers, Michael, keeping in tone with our 1980s vibe, because it's robots. That are replacing a lot of the people. Now, in this, Michael, it's an interesting failure. It's a reinvestigation, I guess, of the moral of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Because in Invasion of the Body Snatchers, it's bad because it's not rugged individualism and capitalism. And you should try and resist against it. And in this, Michael, in World's End, Simon Pegg's character is the... I guess, now that you've given me this information, I'm kind of reframing Simon Pegg's character in this. He is the actual representation of rugged individualism in that he's an absolute fucking prick.
Yeah, he is the personification of humanity's stubbornness to try and fix things.
Yeah, and he's awful.
Yeah, it's great.
So I've never seen the film through that lens, and it's quite interesting to hear you say it that way, because at the end of World's End, and spoilers for a film that came out 10 years ago, ladies and gentlemen, he fucks it up.
The world ends.
He fucks it up. He resists Bill Nye's hive mind voice, and he says, "No, we're gonna do it ourselves." And then it cuts to post humanity's liberation from the hive mind, and the planet's fucked. It's done.
Yeah, it's shit. It's
shit.
You fucked it, mate.
And it's him doing the same thing again as a post-apocalyptic raider. He comes into a bar and he's like, "Hey, I'm back!" And it's now a horrific realization that, this was the wrong decision, maybe. this maybe wasn't the best choice we've ever made. So, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think? Would it be better to listen to this podcast if we were both replaced by a socialist hive mind voiced by Bill Nye? I'd certainly listen a lot more.
Yes, me too. In that case, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, you can get in touch with us in a few different places. You can find us on the interwebs, www.seomrabeag.com, SEOMRABEAG.com.
It means tiny room in Irish.
It does indeed. You can find us on Instagram.
You nearly didn't leave me a gap, Ben.
I nearly didn't leave you a gap, Michael. I nearly didn't leave you a gap, but I did. Come here to me. You can also find us on Instagram at Sure Look, Sure Listen Podcast.
It means Sure Look, Sure Listen in English.
It does indeed. You can find us now, ladies and gentlemen. We've changed our name on YouTube. We are now Sure Look, Sure Listen Podcast on YouTube as well. So you can find us very easily. And if you go up onto TikTok, you can find us at Sure Look, Sure Listen Podcast there as well. So we're unifying our name, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully one day it'll just be one thing. Just look for Sure Look, Sure Listen Podcast and you'll find us wherever. Ladies and gentlemen, you can join us next week when we're talking about Squad Goals, the best bloody secret mission teams going around in honour of Mission Impossible. Coming out.
And Tom Cruise saving cinema, single-handedly saving cinema with his team.
It would be Tom Cruise at the end of humanity if we did get replaced by replicant robot thingies. He'd be the lad going, "Fuck it."
Benjamin, I'm going to leave you and the listeners with the absolute best scene from 1978's Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the iconic reveal that Donald Sutherland has in fact been body snatched. And I'm just going to go...
Ladies and gentlemen, bye-bye.